sports and TV show streams going live on YouTube, streaming live on YouTube. Now, the first time I did a stream with this, it went to upcoming event. Now I gotta check it to see if we really are going live. So I exit Commando IPTV, go to YouTube. Yep. Rescue 911. Hugo and Snow Tube say. Yep. Rescue 911. Hugo and Snow Tube.
Yeah, you're right, CD. But I tell you what, we'll postpone it. You guys go out and have some fun.
Oh, thank you, Cordell. I owe you one. Hey, you too, huh, honey dear?
No.
Let's you and me get out of here. Steak and oysters in my place.
Oh.
Nothing I like better than rekindling an old flame. Let's go.
Oh.
Bye, y'all.
You are so bad. I know I'm bad.
Today on Rescue 911, a kidney donor is found for a sick and dying man.
He can't miss this chance. It could be years before they find another kidney for him.
Watch a news crew go the extra mile to find a missing patient and get into the hospital on time. Then,
if somebody knocks a rock off a building, it's going to come back down on top of you.
an accident on the cliffs leaves two climbers stranded and helpless.
We could contract hypothermia.
On Rescue 911.
When 47-year-old Charles Ridgway was told that his kidneys were failing, he knew he might have just heard his own death sentence. Charles' blood type was so rare, he might die before a kidney could be found that was a good match for him. Encouraged to lead as normal a life as possible while he waited for a donor, Charles went camping with his family on March 25th in a remote corner of California. At 6:30 that evening, a matching kidney suddenly became available. If Charles was not found and brought to the hospital within 12 hours, he just might miss his last chance at life.
KNX is appealing to its listeners for help in the hope that it may save a life. Anaheim resident Charles Ridgway is in desperate need of a kidney transplant. At this hour, he's supposed to be camping in the Imperial County community of Gallimas. He has been waiting for a donor kidney, and one has just become available.
Calls for help have gone out all over Southern California, including one to news helicopter pilot Bob Turr.
It was the night before Easter, and I was at home with my wife, my two kids, when we got a phone call from the Orange County Search and Rescue people. And they were hoping that KNX News Radio would do a story on Charles Ridgway being missing and about the kidney. Nobody called in with any information, and about 11:30 we became very, very edgy, and I told my wife that maybe I should go down there with a helicopter and see if I can locate him. After all, how big could Glamis be?
Bob contacted Charles' son, Matt Ridgway. Knowing how desperate his father was, Matt was also thinking of going to look for him.
I guess my first reaction was shock, and all I could think of was
he can't miss this chance. If he misses this chance, it could be years before they find another kidney for him.
Orange County Search and Rescue.
Barry Stockdale with Orange County Search and Rescue was coordinating the search for Charles Ridgway.
We had learned from Imperial County Sheriff that there are approximately 30,000 people camping in Glamis. They'd really be unable to just go out and find him. We had a window of 6 a.m. that he needed to be back into Western Medical Center for the kidney. And we were just simply running out of time with the resources that were available to us.
When the local sheriffs and rangers gave up the search, Matt and a cousin set out to find his father before it was too late.
When we reached Glamis, we saw hundreds of ATVs, hundreds of white trailers, and that was our description. Look for a white trailer with 2 red ATVs. There were hundreds, and they were everywhere. We just didn't know where to start. We turned on our night sun and we started looking around. I would get on the loudspeaker and I'd say, "Charles Ridgway, we have your kidney." People were looking at us like we were from another planet.
After driving at speeds up to 100 miles an hour, Matt reached the campgrounds.
There's a dirt road that goes off the main highway, and we started going down the road searching for my father.
But at due number 20, Matt's truck got stuck in the sand. Up in the helicopter, Bob Turd had problems of his own.
Trying to look at 200, 300 ATVs with license plates is near impossible. Also, our search field was becoming very low.
We could see far off in the distance a light in the sky roaming around, and we knew that it was Bob Turd in his helicopter. We got to the campsite with some trailers and started pounding on the door of one trailer. And a gentleman was nice enough to come out and help us. We pointed to the helicopter and said, "We need to get to that helicopter." I jumped on the back and off we went, chasing after the helicopter.
For some reason, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a light flashing in the distance a few miles out. And we saw a red ATV with 2 people on it. The people aboard the ATV were waving frantically at us. We got on the loudspeaker and said, "Do you know Charles Ridgway?"
Bob Turd hopped out of the helicopter and ran over to me, and I introduced myself.
Matt would be able to recognize his family's camper from the air. But Bob had only 10 minutes of fuel left before he would have to turn back. This was Charles' last chance.
We took off, started going south, went past the truck, which I left the lights on so we could see it again. And just a little ways past the truck, we spotted my mom and dad's trailer. And I started screaming, "That's them, there they are, sit down, Luke, that's them." And Bob Turd told me to jump out and wake my dad up.
We were very low on fuel, and I knew that we didn't have any time for any family reunions. And I yelled, "We've got to go now. If you have to come naked, you're coming."
It happened so fast, and I just broke down and cried. Matt was standing there, so we put our arms around each other, and he said, "Hey, it's good news,
We got Ridgway aboard the copter, took off, and started heading over to the airport, where we were to meet an Orange County Search and Rescue Team member with an airplane.
Charles Ridgway made it to the hospital in Santa Ana by 5:45 a.m. and received his kidney transplant.
I felt elated. Here we are, out in the middle of the desert, and we found literally a needle in a haystack. And it finally hit me at that point that we might have saved somebody's life. And I mean really saved somebody's life.
Charles returned home to his family 9 days after his successful kidney transplant. He has gotten his second chance at life.
I was just so thankful that it went as well as it did. I'm just amazed at how well he is now compared to what he was.
Well, that's the things to be thankful for is unreal. The state of my health and the energy level and all that I'm enjoying is so much better than what I was experiencing even on dialysis. It's nothing like a real kidney. It's really
They're
strong.
playing
So
table tennis
there's such a
at
list
the end
people
of
that are
this
involved in rescue
episode.
care all on my list.
At the
as far
end
as
of this
heroes are concerned,
segment,
and I'll be thankful
Rescue
for
number
the
one
lifetime.
kidney transplant store. I think
Next.
it's called
It's
Easter
a dangerous
Hunt,
mountain.
this
It's not got the
episode.
loosest rock in the cedar, but if somebody knocks a rock off of it, it's going to come right down on top of it.
They get a little of the money at a time, but they're buying a
It was a little scary. I had not climbed for a while at that altitude.
Thirty-four-year-old Hummy Man has been an amateur mountain climber for years. On July 25th, 1987, Hummy and his partner Sean Collinsworth began a 4-day trek up the dangerous east face of Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the continental United States. But on this climb, they would never make it to the top.
It's a dangerous mountain. It's not got the loosest rock in the Sierras. There's other mountains where the rocks are more fragile than Whitney. But if somebody knocks a rock off of it, it's going to come right down on top of you.
The mountains don't care. You know, a storm happens, suddenly you develop hypothermia and you die there.
It was the third day. Sean was leading.
In my line of work as a cop, there are a lot of life-threatening and critical situations. One of the reasons why I climb, believe it or not, it's relaxing because it is so intense, it is so focused.
On this day, they planned to climb Mount Whitney's sheer face to the top and back down again.
It was a little scary. I had not climbed for a while at that altitude. There was what we call exposure of around 1,500 feet. In other words, you look down and it's 1,500 feet straight down.
While trying to reach an area called Long Ledge, Sean and Hummy realized they had climbed too far to one side.
Wrong route. Okay, I think the ledge that we want to be on is above us. I think this takes us right to it.
We could see the route, and I led up to the long ledge. I had no problem. I just scampered up. In fact, it was like vertical, but the easiest type of vertical climbing. I anchored myself in with 2 or 3 pieces of protection, and then told Hummy to climb up. I could not see him. He was below me by around 30 feet and around a corner. The rope went taut, so I knew he was falling.
You okay?
And there was a tremendous amount of small boulders, and I was listening to the rocks tumble down into the valley below.
You okay? I don't know. I think I broke my leg.
I could tell by the inflection of his voice, he was definitely hurt. I asked him if he could climb up to me. He told me he couldn't climb up. He was in too much pain, and he was afraid of further damaging his leg.
I'm gonna belay you down to the next ledge, okay? All right.
At 1,500 feet or 2,000 feet, when there's an accident, you're just not lowered to the ground. We both knew that we'd have to make some very critical decisions as soon as we could get together and anchor ourselves into the ledge. He anchored himself in, and then I down climbed and we started doing first aid. And we could clearly see that the leg was broken right around the kneecap.
Because Hummy's injuries were so serious, it would be impossible to get him off the mountain without help.
It was now around 12:30 or 1 in the afternoon. Even if I would have been able to get help, Hummy would have spent the night there by himself. We both knew that I was going to go below freezing. 2 people have a better chance of keeping each other warm, so both of us elected to stay there. And hopefully other climbers would be coming up and we would be able to signal them. Within 2.5, 3 hours, we saw 2 people coming up. We could barely see them, and what it was literally 2 black specks.
Help! Accident! Get help!
Sean and Hummy had no idea if any help would arrive before nightfall. But late in the afternoon, a helicopter came into view.
My hopes picked up when a Forest Service helicopter came by and settled no more than maybe 50 feet away. I pointed to my partner, lifted my leg up, pointed at it, and then made a motion like breaking a stick. The pilot did a thumbs up sign at me and then veered off and went back down into the valley, and then all was quiet again.
We have an injured climber on the east face of Mount Whitney.
At 5:45 p.m., the Sheriff's Department called in the China Lake Mountain Rescue Group. Volunteer Linda Finko was the operations leader.
One of my first questions to the sheriff was if we could have access to a helicopter to fly an advance team up there so that they could hopefully get up for him that night. Start some calls on that for us while we try to get our team going?
Field leader Bart Hine and an advance team attempted to land near Iceberg Lake at the base of the east face.
Unfortunately, when we got there, the shadow of the mountain was covering our landing zone, and the pilot didn't feel that he could land safely. So he backed off and went back down to Lone Pine, where we re-met Linda, who was setting up base camp there.
No rescuers would be able to reach Sean and Hummy before morning.
We weren't sure how serious the injury was. We wanted to be guaranteed that we had people up there, so we started an advance team in that night on the ground.
We've got a policy that we try to keep people moving toward our subject all the time, even though we've got a promise of a resource coming in this case in the helicopter the next morning.
We were just a hair below 14,000 feet. I knew that we could contract hypothermia. Hummy had a space blanket. We were able to get very close to each other and wrap the space blanket, which was made for one person, around both of us.
You'll be okay.
You've got people exposed. If they're injured, they're typically maybe going into shock, and now you put this cool weather condition on and help depress the body even more.
When we continue,
You talk about anything just to stay awake because you don't want your metabolism to drop and create a better environment for hypothermia. We would just fall asleep and never wake up.
At 331-8821. Go to consumercellular.com or visit a Target store today.
You gotta look into it. You should be with Consumer Cellular.
Catch Amen on Funny Side Up every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern.
It had been more than 10 hours since Hummy Man had fallen while climbing the sheer east face of Mount Whitney. He and his partner Sean had no idea how cold it would get, or how much longer it would take for help to arrive.
You talk about anything just to stay awake because you don't want your metabolism to drop. What that's going to do is create a better environment for hypothermia. We would just fall asleep and never wake up.
You see that down there? We got headlamps coming up.
but the China Lake Mountain Rescue Group was still hours away.
At around 3:34 in the morning, we were becoming hypothermic. You start shivering. This creates heat. It's a last-ditch effort for the body to create its own warmth. You stop shivering, and then you'll shiver violently, stop shivering, shiver violently, stop shivering. And the shivering mechanism now is shutting down.
After hiking all night, the search and rescue team was nearing Hummy's location. As soon as it was light enough for a safe landing, they were joined by other rescuers who flew in with additional emergency gear.
Good morning, gentlemen. Morning.
A head popped up around 50 feet above us. They said that they're going to be with us in a moment. And then I could see several people coming up over and down climbing to start a rescue.
Volunteer Andrew Mitchell examined Hummy's injuries.
He was happy to see us. His knee was swollen, and any movement, he was in a considerable amount of pain.
To have any chance of being picked up by helicopter, Hummy would have to be hoisted up a rock wall to a larger ledge.
We had to haul a stretcher up 50 to 60 feet, which is about equivalent of a six-story building. You can't let your mind wander. One false step or one knot that's tied incorrectly could mean a fall.
We'd already decided that we were either going to have to take him off in a helicopter or taking back down the route. So it was basically up to the base camp to get any additional resources we need.
Base, be advised, we have subjects on the ledge at this time. Stand by for further reports. Over.
The naval weapons helicopter hovered over the pinnacle to see if he could keep the power he would need in order to do a pickoff from that. And with the altitude and all the other conditions intermixed, he just felt it was out of his capability. So our next thing was we had to start looking for a helicopter with some high altitude capabilities. And we got the call that afternoon that Scott Air Force Base had found a Chinook at the Stockton Air National Guard that would be available the following morning to come in and help us in any way that he could.
Sean was finally able to leave, but Hummy would have to wait through another night on the mountain. A 12-ton Chinook from the National Guard arrived the next morning, but there was no guarantee it could successfully pick Hummy off the ledge.
With the helicopter, you always have a risk of something going wrong. With increased altitudes, rock, a lot of things that helicopters just don't normally fly in.
We moved Hummy from the ledge we were on further out on the rib, out toward the edge, to get us, far away from the wall as we could to help the helicopter.
Smoke up.
The pilot had to carefully maneuver the massive helicopter to keep the rotor blades from hitting the rock walls.
Okay, go right, 30 feet.
They lowered the line down, had to swing it and back and forth to get it over to us because he still couldn't get close enough to the mountain to drop it straight down.
Okay, got the hook in his hand. Okay, it's off the deck. Coming up. I'm in the lower 30.
When he went out there, he started spinning the top. We've never seen that happen on any helicopter we've worked with.
331-8821. Go to consumersailor.com or visit a Target store today.
You gotta look into it. You should be with consumers.
Reality of what it was that was going on kind of hit me. The fact that I had a little daughter who was under 1 year old, and I was sitting there going, this could actually do it. This could be the final number, but I just didn't know I didn't want to end up on that little ledge. There was too much more to go back home to.
Today on Rescue 911, the medical reality.
Shot in the brain for absolutely no reason.
A day in the life of the Los Angeles Children's Hospital.
I certainly was not convinced that he would live through this injury.
You are there as doctors go beyond the call of duty to save innocent lives. Then,
I knew myself that my kids was dead.
Deadly carbon monoxide gas takes its toll on a family on Rescue 911.
The number one killer of children isn't disease or drugs, it's accidents. And no one knows that better than the doctors and nurses at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where more than 200 children of all ages are treated every day, many requiring critical emergency care. This story is not a recreation.
A 12-year-old boy hit while riding his bicycle home from school is brought in.
Got a sign of 100% here. Take it right where it is. It's got good both sides on both sides.
All right, let's do the X-ray.
I have found one out here.
He was weaving in and out from traffic. He was hit by a car. He came in, his pupils were fixed, non-reactive, he was not breathing.
He's got no reflexes in his lower extremities, yes.
Mom and Dad were both at work when the accident occurred. I was then fielding phone calls from them asking what was going on.
Okay, and the hospital's on the right side of the street. Now, Mom, is somebody coming with you?
Social worker Joshua Bienenfeld explains to Michael Park's mother what happened to him.
Okay, because I don't think you should drive alone. I want you to drive with somebody else. Get a neighbor or a friend to come with you.
When I heard that he brought by a helicopter, that he was not responding, my mind is absolutely insane. I thought this is the end. You know, I lost my son.
Neurosurgeon Jeff Thomas leads the medical team treating the 12-year-old boy.
I'm not sure whether that's coming from inside his canals.
I heard a report that he has an abnormal movement called posturing when he came in. And usually it's a sign that the brain is being compressed and that parts of it are being forcibly moved to places where it doesn't belong. The brain, like any other part of the body, will swell after it's injured. And particularly in children, this swelling can be very sudden and very severe. And they can go down the tube in a second, in just a heartbeat.
That's a little bit of a depressed skull fracture. He's got some soft tissue swelling there. Not significantly enough to press to do anything about it.
All right, Michael has had...
When Michael's father, Juan Park, and other family members begin arriving at the hospital, Dr. Thomas explains the extent of the boy's injuries.
The main thing is he's had a concussion. Now, on the CT scan, I see a small hemorrhage that I don't need to operate on, okay? We have to get another CT scan within the next 24 hours, because sometimes these blood collections can get bigger. If they get bigger, then surgery becomes a possibility, okay?
So how soon can I see him?
The nurses have some things to do with him, and you'll probably be able to see him within the hour. This was a situation where I saw a CT scan that looked good, but there's a lot of damage that you just can't see. And obviously, there's a lot of shaking around of the brain inside the skull. In such an injury, it's going to do some damage.
Michael's mother, Yun Park, is allowed in to see her son.
I think God is in love with my son, and I know that he'll be all right. I have to think a positive way.
Come on, nod your head if you can hear mommy. Can you squeeze your mommy hand? Squeeze your mommy hand.
What? Who's going to see him?
Nine-year-old Rodrigo Trujillo, a victim of a drive-by shooting, is brought into the trauma unit.
Usually, when we see these cases, they are gang-related. In this case, there's no gang activity. You have a family who's visiting the United States for a couple of weeks, and you have a kid being shot in the brain for absolutely no reason. To see someone who's 8 or 9 years old get a missile in the head is it's pretty devastating.
Anything come off preliminarily?
I can't really tell her anything right now.
Okay.
But, you know...
But he's not stable yet, and when he's still serious?
It's
okay.
Dead serious. Dead serious.
When we continue...
There's still a lot you can't do. What I can do is keep him alive and give him a chance to heal himself.
Hey, guess what? It's 800-403-781.
Nationwide, don't go it alone. The MedicareAdvantage.com hotline is accepting calls.
$611. 611. Call now.
This is air that's been introduced intracranially by the missile. You can already see that his brain is a little bit shifted from left to right. When a penetrating wound of the brain is sustained, there is direct and immediate destruction of neural tissue. And he can expect paralysis on the right side of his body.
Rodrigo will have to undergo a surgical procedure that will try to reduce the buildup of fluid in his brain.
When the brain swells, there's nowhere for anything to go because the skull is a closed box. So you have to monitor the intracranial pressure to be able to treat it medically if you can. And the other thing is you can withdraw some of this fluid in increments and lower the pressure that way. Okay, get ready to hook up. Okay. See, this is the fluid. You can see it's spurting out, which means that he's under pressure. All right, are you ready to hook up? Okay. Hooking up now. The pressure inside his head right now is the thing that's most likely to kill him. So that's the thing that we take care of. The modern medical wonders notwithstanding, there's still a lot you can't do. Whatever damage that missile has done already, I can't repair. I can't surgically do anything about that. What I can do is keep him alive and give him a chance to heal himself. I'm sitting there wishing I could help this woman, and I feel like I'm lowering the boom on her when I tell her his condition's grave. He could die. I have to concentrate on the fact that he's not dead. He may survive. You have to be a little more hopeful. It is reassuring to know that Rodrigo's mother was pregnant with another child, because I certainly was not convinced that he would live through this injury.
Following surgery, Catalina Pasaye is allowed to visit her son.
Terriblemente. I felt terrible. El hecho de verlo ahí. To see him lying there like that, I felt it broke my heart. The first time I saw him was something very painful for me. I continue to feel it.
Rodrigo's father, Jose, drove up from the family's home in Mexico to be with his son.
Lo acaricié y le hablé y sé que me escuchó.
I caressed him with affection. I spoke to him and I know he heard and understood me.
Le dije que estaba con él.
I told him that I was with him and I had much love to give him.
Open your eyes, Michael.
The condition of Michael Park, the boy hit on his bicycle, slowly improves.
I think Thursday he started looking better and started looking with his eyes open, and I thought, oh, he's alive again, and I start feeling that he's gonna come back pretty soon.
Can you show me two fingers here, buddy? You lift up two? Atta boy. I was gratified that he briskly responded to commands. Every person is different. He has done very well so far, and he's very young, and he'll probably recover fairly quickly. He's a lucky kid. He'd probably be luckier had he been wearing a helmet. I'll come up and see him. I'll come up to rehab. Seeing people heal and get well and walk out of the hospital is what this thing is all about.
It's been 3 months since 9-year-old Rodrigo Trujillo was shot. He is slowly improving through physical therapy.
When he first
was transferred up to rehab, he wasn't able to hold his head up for very long. He wasn't able to sit up in a wheelchair for longer than an hour. My hope for Rodrigo is for him to be as independent as possible, doing things like dressing himself or feeding himself.
Yo lo he dicho que estaré quizá
I have said that I am eternally grateful. First to God and then to the doctors and many people who showed so much love, because they seemed to feel the same sadness that I felt.
What's going on in this world, that guns are such a powerful part. I just, would ask that people who are watching stop and wonder why a little boy like Rodrigo ends up in our hospital in Los Angeles because of some idiot with a gun.
8 months after the shooting, Rodrigo was back in school, enrolled in special education classes. He still faces months of physical therapy and extensive speech therapy, but has the loving support of his family.
Cuando él ya salió del hospital y conoció al niño.
When he was released from the hospital and he met the baby, it was a very beautiful thing between them. And I feel that this is good for his recuperation.
De hecho, ha sido un niño, un buen hijo.
He has been a good son, a good boy. And I will help him all that I can.
Next,
the kids were in the house long enough to give as much carbon monoxide or more as my wife did. I knew myself that my kids.
Get ready to hit the trail.
In St. Louis, Missouri, Glenn and Annie Murphy discovered that what appears safe can be deceiving.
We were in moving boxes. My wife, my baby daughter, and myself.
Well, you happy we're here in your new house?
My other kids were in school. While we were moving, my wife had gotten chilly in the house and asked me would I light the furnace. The rest of the day, I was in and out, in and out. My wife and my baby daughter was staying, straightening out stuff as I brought it in.
Around 4, Glenn returned to the new house after picking up their other children from school.
And I blowed the horn for my wife to open the door. And it took her so long to answer the door that I thought maybe she was asleep.
Why didn't you open the garage?
She was saying her eyes and nose was burning. She complained of a headache. She was weak and nauseous. It didn't register to me because she was healthy all during the day. I just thought maybe she was tired.
By 6:30 that evening, Annie had taken a turn for the worse.
She called me and told me I better take her to the hospital because she thinks she's dying.
Glenn left his 14-year-old son Dominic at home in charge of the 3 younger kids.
On the route to the hospital, she said, I feel better already.
When Annie checked into the emergency room, she was told she would have to wait her turn to see a doctor.
While we were sitting there, Rescue 911 came on.
What's going on? You want me to turn you around so you can see?
Being that was my favorite program, my husband wheeled me around in a wheelchair to watch it.
That Sunday morning was cold and wet. Bob and Magda Brown were at home, catching up on household chores.
I say, hey, something is wrong. It's cold here. So right away, I know that the furnace is not working. We find the pilot light is off, then Magda has to start lighting it.
The people that were on the program was going through the same procedures we had went through to light the furnace.
All of a sudden, she says, "Oh my God, I don't feel well. Something's wrong."
She was tired, and she complained that her stomach hurt.
And I started checking it. Magda says there's gas, and I call up the gas company. I said, "My wife is violently sick. She's got a headache. She's thrown up. She smells gas. Therefore, I appreciate somebody coming out."
When I heard that lady on TV explain the symptoms she had with the pounding in her head, I turned to my husband and I said, "Do you think that's what happened to me?"
You know, probably so.
They had a problem with carbon monoxide poisoning.
That scared me. The kids were in the house long enough to get as much carbon monoxide or more as my wife did. I was speeding. I was praying, "Lord, please let them be alive." I knew myself that my kids was dead.
Nick! Dominic! Dominic!
Dominic was half on his knees. He started crying, just laying there. He didn't know what was happening to him.
Marquita, come on. Come on, stand up for Dad.
And they were like semi-conscious, intoxicated with their carbon monoxide.
Come on, baby. Queen.
Within minutes of the neighbor's call for help, units from the Moline Fire Department arrived, led by Fire Captain Dave Jetton.
We were approached by the father of the children. He informed us that he had the children out. I sent 2 firefighters over to check on the kids. Carbon monoxide poison is very dangerous. You're never aware that it's actually taking place.
In St. Louis, Missouri, Glenn and Annie Murphy discovered that what appears safe can...
We would have died.
Each time you see that program, that memory comes up.
Oh, cool. They have polar bears they're
Thank you,
seen at the zoo at the end of this episode.
Today on Rescue 911. Perilous pursuit.
Oh, it's not we are.
A crazed car thief is on the run.
Stop!
Be there as a dangerous arrest.
Give me the phone.
Turns deadly. Then, a violent hurricane strikes Charleston, South Carolina.
My house is caved in.
Now, trapped in the ruins of their own home,
Everybody is all messed up.
a family struggles to survive.
I'm scared to death.
On Rescue 911.
Every day across America, cops respond to thousands of calls for help. And sometimes that means confronting their worst fears. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of people in danger and the race against time to save their lives on Rescue 911. We begin in the quiet residential neighborhood of Prospect Park, Pennsylvania, on the evening of July 27, 1989. Around 9:30 p.m., a call came into the police.
Yeah, this is man taking the Atlantic signal from 420. Oh, yeah. There's 2 guys down here stealing cars, man. One man tag that one? Yes. That's Fort Lincoln, right? Yes. The bus says it's not cool. Hold on for a second. Hey, Paul. 564. Fort Lincoln. That's the vehicle driver. 33 to 4th of Lincoln. It's supposed to be in sector 1 over progress. 30 to 23.
When the call came in, Officer Ed Kenzel was less than a mile away.
The call was very vague at first, and I started heading down to the area. I imagined that the dispatcher had just gotten first-hand information and put it out to us.
Officer Paul Stoltz was on patrol in an unmarked car.
I heard Prospect Park answer up for the call, at which time I proceeded into the location to back them up.
When I pulled up to it, I believed that it was someone with car problems.
Okay, guys, hold it. Hold it. Stop where you are. Hold it. Stop. Stop. Okay, over here. Get his car. Spread him.
I thought that'd be a normal arrest. The suspect would be taken into custody without any real problem.
Bill Nichols, the third officer to arrive, lived just across the street from the gas station with his 14-year-old son and his wife, Julie.
First thing that alerted me that something was wrong was when I saw a Norwood police car go by my house. Bill was in there with his van, and I told my son, they're right down at the gas station, let's go see what's happening.
We put this suspect in the back of Officer Nichols' vehicle.
Watch your feet. You got it.
I had made several repeated calls to him to stop, which he refused to continue to flee.
Officer Nichols radioed to follow him into an alleyway, which time I pulled behind him. He asked if I would sit and watch the prisoner that was in the back of the truck. He ran through the woods to where you could hear Officer Stoltz yelling for help.
The suspect was very strong. He wouldn't give in. He wouldn't let me cuff him.
A neighbor came up and informed me that there was a large fight and a lot of noise going on at 5th and Lincoln, behind the houses.
I was yelling out, screaming for help because it was dark. No other officers really knew where I was at that time. And I heard Officer Nichols' voice coming, and I could see his flashlight.
Police from Norwood, Prospect Park, and Ridley Park continue to arrive, including Officer Harold Snyder.
I could hear a commotion on the other side of the creek, so I notified the other officers by radio, and I started up there on foot.
He was already parked on that side street, and I figured that's very odd. Bill wouldn't leave a prisoner in his van, even though it's locked, without somebody being there.
Seemed like the more we fought with him, the more he liked to fight, and the stronger he got. I wasn't aware that Bill was shot at first. I heard the round go off. Then I heard Bill say, "I'm hit. He shot me. He's got my gun."
When we continue.
I remember him telling me he was fighting to stay with us, because I knew the whole time he knew he was dying.
Try it for 14 days. Eat the food. Money back guarantee.
You. Bonus number 4. Probiotic belly-busting shakes.
School's in session with the Steve Harvey Show, weekdays at 7 on Get TV.
Police officer Bill Nichols had been shot at point-blank range with his own .357 Magnum by a suspect who was being arrested. When the shot was fired, Officer Nichols' wife Julie and 14-year-old son Bill Jr. were near the scene.
When I first heard those shots, I said they must be firing warning shots to make him stop.
I quick twisted the weapon away from the direction of Officer Nichols. But I could feel the strength of this man. He was so strong, and he was pulling the gun back towards Officer Nichols. So I put my thumb in behind the trigger guard to stop the travel of the trigger. And then this man pulled the trigger again and again and again, at least 6 times. And I was saying, stop struggling. You have a weapon. You're going to force us to kill you. And indeed, at that time, we had the moral and legal right to kill this man. But he cursed at me and said, kill me. Go ahead, kill me. He didn't care.
I could hear Paul Stoltz yell to me that Bill's been shot. Get an ambulance.
The situation was bordering on chaotic at first. There was a lot of confusion as to the proper location of the police officer.
He was so very strong, and I believe at the time he was on drugs, and that tripled his efforts.
I could feel the gun, and I just started pulling. I had to tell Ed about 2 or 3 times that it was okay that I had the gun.
I could hear hollering and screaming. I could see some officers in the distance, but I couldn't pick Bill out at all.
Unbelievable amount of blood coming out of Officer Nichols. And I kept telling Officer Bill that it's going to be all right. The more I looked at Bill while I'm telling him this, the more I knew that I was lying to him. I grabbed the beach towel. I was just trying to control that bleeding. He was getting worse in 5 and 10 second increments.
I remember saying to myself, please God, don't let him die, because I could see it bleed real bad. His collar, you could just see him turning pale white.
Off-duty paramedic Mike Eckerode heard the dispatchers struggling to pinpoint an exact location.
We're at the firehouse, and based on what we were hearing and the confusion that was apparent on the radio, we felt that maybe the crew that was on needed a hand. So at that point in time, the 3 of us went to the scene to see if we could render some assistance.
It's an indescribable feeling. It's grief, it's heartache, it's helplessness, it's terror, it's everything you can think of mixed into one moment.
The first paramedic on the scene was Michelle Ottaviano.
At that point in time, I wasn't 100% sure where the person who did the shooting was. It was a pretty scary situation. It wasn't until I knelt down next to the person who wasn't moving on the ground that I saw the uniform and realized it was a police officer that had gotten shot, that apparently had nicked an artery, the femoral artery. And with severing the femoral artery, every time your heart pumps, it pushes the blood out in spurts.
There was an awful lot of confusion and commotion around the scene. I looked down and realized that the guy laying on the ground was Billy Nichols. And, I worked in a town where I'd go on an ambulance call, and Bill would come in and give me hand carrying my equipment or whatever needed to be done. It's pretty rude awakening when you look down and see somebody and kind of like looking back at you. That's pretty tough to do.
We're a small town here. Prospect Park is a little town. I didn't want Bill's wife hearing about it from the neighbors. I wanted me to tell her. That was my responsibility.
Very rarely do you see somebody who is critical as Bill was stay conscious. I remember him telling me he was fighting to stay with us, because I knew the whole time, being a police officer, I knew he was dying, and that's what he was doing. He was dying. He was bleeding out massively.
I started getting the feeling that maybe something was wrong, that I told my son to go back up to the road and look down to our house and to see if there's a police car in front.
He was looking really bad. You begin to know that look, you know, that's a look of a dying person, there's no doubt about it. And the more you look at it, you know, and the more you walk on the street, the more you see it. It's the look of a dying man, it really is.
Ooh.
When the ambulance left with Bill in the back, I really thought that we'd be going to a police funeral in a few days. Officer Kenzel drove Bill Jr. back to where his mother was.
I said, "He's been shot. It doesn't look too good, but he's still alive now, and let's pray." And we did.
It was about a 5 or 6 minute ride from the scene to the hospital. The condition that Bill was in, every action and every moment really counted. You know, you couldn't delay 5 or 10 minutes one way or the other.
Bill Nichols was immediately rushed into surgery. His condition was critical.
I had like a peace, a total calm that came over me. I just knew he would be okay. It would be bad, but I never had the feeling that he was going to die.
10 months have gone by. The man who shot Bill Nichols was convicted of aggravated assault. Bill has not forgotten the debt he owes to his best friend, Officer Ed Kenzel.
If it wasn't for him being there as quickly as he was and using his knowledge and placing his thumb behind the trigger, the suspect might have easily fired more rounds off. One of the primary reasons I'm alive today is because of my fellow officer, Ed Kenzel.
The fact that I could do something to save his life tickles me up and down, because if anybody deserves being saved, it's him. And the fact that I can look at him now and see him smiling and laughing at my jokes, that's worth a million. I love it.
More than a year after the incident, Bill has returned to active duty as a police officer.
It's very different when somebody that you know well, worked close with over the years and known him and know his whole family. It hits home. We're a big family. We live and almost die together.
I knew that everyone did what they had to do because they did it. I had a second chance at life. And no words can express the feeling of thankfulness towards those individuals.
I'm very lucky to have Bill around. No one could take his place. There's not another man like him. I love Bill with all my heart. I always have since I was 16. Until the day I die. There'd be nobody else but Bill.
Next.
I thought my wife was dead. I thought my mother was dead. Everything you have, everything you cherish.
We begin on September 21st, 1989, as the worst U.S. storm ever recorded, Hurricane Hugo, near the South Carolina coast. Its brutal winds and rain threatening everything and everyone in its path.
I've never worried about hurricanes before, but something about Hugo seemed to be different. The animals were acting strange, and I noticed that I couldn't breathe. I asked my family to come home and start tying down everything, and people came to me, tell me I'm just, hurricanes don't hit Charleston. We'll always be prepared for nothing.
Family and friends gathered at the home of Lorraine Ayub to wait out the storm together. Lorraine was keeping a close watch on her 80-year-old invalid Aunt Lillian.
I kept asking my husband over and over if my aunt's room was safe enough, if everything in the house was safe enough, because I had this bad feeling that something bad was going to happen.
o'clock, the winds were so bad that I was afraid that tornadoes were going to start splitting off in the hurricane. So I told my husband, let's go upstairs and get the kids.
Lorraine's daughter, Deborah Hayes, and her husband, Robert, went to their kids' bedroom.
My wife became very insistent about bringing the children downstairs. She had felt that the upstairs was dangerous, and I didn't think it was necessary. The kids were extremely tired. Preparing for the hurricane had been very stressful and very tiring for all of us.
Neighbor Billy Hudson had also come to Lorraine's house.
We were sitting around with the ladies just trying to break the tension, but you could hear the outside noises and you could feel the house shaking and trembling.
The leading edge of the rain from this part of Hugo is already hitting shore. Some of these are capable of producing tornadoes, and this is not the worst scenario for you. This is what we're really actually seeing.
Everything just got louder and louder. It was like a train roaring.
All of a sudden there was a tremendous crash. Everything went black. The roof caved in.
Lorraine's husband, Kenny, grabbed a flashlight.
I came to, it was just nothing around. So I immediately turned toward my wife. I thought she was dead. I thought my wife was dead. I thought my mother was dead. Everything you have, everything you cherish, can be taken away in a split second.
My husband started working with the flashlight and the lantern. I saw the rain coming in, felt the wind. I felt like I just wanted to get out of the house because I had this feeling the whole house was going to collapse.
I looked back at Lillian's room, and it looked like someone brought a big dump truck in and just dumped a load of wood, debris on top of her bed.
I saw her covered, totally buried in all this debris, and that's when I really panicked. I ran out of my side of the house into my daughter's side, screaming, Evelyn's dead. My God, she's dead. After all these months of taking care of her and keeping her alive, the Hurricane Hugo is taking her from me.
I figured she was dead, but I had to find out, and even if she was dead, I was going to bring her back in there. We just couldn't leave her piled up in that stuff.
I know I was scared. I was panicked and I was terrified. But I had to do something to take care of my aunt. I had to get on the phone and call EMS.
Lorraine's call for help came shortly before midnight.
North Charleston 911, operator 1. Yes, ma'am. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This area, we're pretty safe over here.
I understand. We were here to protect her and serve her. We couldn't get to her. I felt real bad because I was put in a situation that the most I could do was talk on the phone.
The hurricane was so dangerous, no rescue workers were allowed to go out.
I'm scared to death.
Today on Rescue 911, disaster strikes.
I'm bleeding myself. I got my family.
A hurricane threatens a family member. Now, with rescuers trapped by the storm,
They didn't get out of the building.
they must fend for themselves.
The worst was yet to come.
Then, it's a deadly downhill ride when a snow cube tumbles out of control. On Rescue 911.
When the roof of Lorraine Ames' house caved in, her invalid Aunt Lillian was buried in the rubble. But with power down all over Charleston, and Hurricane Hugo's tremendous winds relentlessly pounding the city, rescue workers were not even allowed to go out. They could do nothing to help.
My father-in-law, he dug sort of a tunnel so he could reach down and check her vitals, and he was touching her neck.
Her eyes were blinking. It was a fairly rapid pulse. I just hollered at Robert. Robert, she's alive. Let's get her out. She's alive.
What is your aunt's condition? How is she right now? Critical right now. Okay. I didn't want to make it. No, sir, she's not conscious.
Aunt Lillian's pre-existing illness meant that she could not survive more than a few hours without extra oxygen.
Her room is falling in, is what she's saying. The stuff is falling in on her.
We took her out already. Her room fell. I thought she was dead.
Is she sitting up in bed?
No, she can't sit. She's going flat.
Lay flat. Good. Okay, that's what we want her to do. We also want to keep her still. We don't want to try to hurt her no more than we have to.
Okay, I'm trying. She's scared too, I think.
Is she conscious now?
I think she is. I don't know her eyes are in the back of her head right now. I can't tell you.
This was a nightmare. I just knew that her aunt needed emergency medical treatment right then.
Is she breathing?
Is that really in breathing? Yes, she's breathing.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God, all the rest in my house. I know, it's silly.
Okay. Well, what I want you to do is get somebody to find an oxygen tank, and we're going to put her on some oxygen.
Okay.
Do you have somebody there that can go find the tank for you?
My husband and my son-in-law were going through all this stuff trying to find oxygen. The EMS guy kept me on the phone. He kept saying, just be calm. It felt good to talk to him because he had a lot of confidence in what he was saying, which made me feel more confident.
Okay, my husband got the oxygen out.
Okay. What I need him to do is hook it up. What is her recommended dose?
She's been using around 2 or 3 liters.
2 or 3 liters?
Right.
All right, go ahead and put her on 4 liters.
They're on 4 liters.
But the oxygen tank would not work.
They're trying to get somebody out here. They can't do it because it's so bad out there.
Maybe you can, right?
Okay, what's going to happen to my house? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
I don't know. We'll worry about that later, okay?
I'm worried about my babies. And I'm bleeding myself, but I can't do anything about it.
Okay.
But I can't worry about me right now. I got to worry about my family.
Well,
I looked at Billy Hudson's head, and he was bleeding all over the place, so I checked him out. And in his head, he had a pretty good-sized piece of plaster just sort of lodged in the side of his head. After I had finished with Billy Hudson and my father-in-law had finished with Aunt Lillian, we both proceeded to go upstairs and investigate the damage. At the time, we still didn't realize what had hit us.
Robin and myself were both amazed. We just saw a big hole at the top of the stairs, where the upstairs used to be. When I got up the stairs, I saw just pieces of metal everywhere. Still couldn't figure out how did they build a house with large pieces of metal.
The wall in the kids' room was pushed back. There was a large metal pipe in Ricky's bed. There was a large light fixture in Michael's bed. If the kids had been in there, they would have made it.
When we continue,
I didn't think we were going to make it through this. Children asked me, Mommy, we're going to die.
Wake up every morning to Funny Side Up.
Report them every month. When you call the number on your screen, please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to lunchrunners.org right away. Your gift will help kids just like me have the best part of our day.
Catch Amen on Funny Side Up every weekday at 6 a.m. Eastern.
Hugo's tremendous winds had blown a nearly 300-foot radio tower down onto the house, crushing the roof in and leaving them exposed to the storm.
I thought it looked very real. Just from what she was giving me on the phone, I didn't know if she could wait.
In a couple of minutes, just get ready to get real calm. Okay? Tell her Elm Avenue is.
I knew from the information that was coming in that I was getting ready to pass up with Charles.
In the car. Lillian, everybody go to the Elm Avenue EMS station. You know where that is?
Yes.
He told me that as soon as the calm came over, for all of us to evacuate.
After the eye passes, it gets calm. And then the next storm that comes up, is it going to be as bad as it is now?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You should have enough time to get from your house to Elm Avenue.
Okay.
That is a safe place, and y'all don't need to be in that house.
Okay.
We'll call them and tell them that you're going to be coming.
Okay.
Y'all just be careful, okay? All
Thank you for talking me through this.
All right, man.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I didn't think we were going to make it through this. My children asked me, Mommy, we're going to die. I said, well, whatever it was, we're still alive. Maybe the good Lord's going to let us go the rest of the way. And the whole time I wasn't sure because The walls were rattling. Everything was moving. I mean, the house was really moving. And all I could do was say, please let us get to this.
As the eye of the hurricane approached, the winds gradually died down, but the streets were full of debris.
I climbed through the tower to get my van. The tower just missed my van by 1 inch. It was 1 inch behind my van.
They knew they could not make it to the EMS station during the brief eye of the hurricane, so they decided to go instead to Kenny's mother's house, a block away. But there were too many people to take in one trip.
As they were leaving, I realized that 2 of our friends came inland and stayed in the apartment behind Billy's house, and that was right underneath the tower.
Kenny went to check on his friends. Robert returned for Kenny and Aunt Lily.
I came back for the second trip, and just as Kenny was getting into the van, the wind really started picking up violently.
From what EMS told us and all past experience of hurricanes, backside of hurricanes is the strongest because it's that sudden force of wind that comes back and it's going in the opposite direction. The worst was yet to come.
Even as we got around the corner to Miss Harris's house. When I got inside and I saw all the cracks in the roof, I said, oh my God, this could cave in next.
The backside of the hurricane hit, and still the Ayub family had not shown up at the EMS station. Rescue workers were worried.
When the call came in reference to a tower falling on the house, it was just frustrating that you wanted to help somebody, but you couldn't even get out of the building. We were told kind of to stay around and wait till the official word came to go out. But the longer we sat around, the more frustrated we got.
Several hours later, when the winds began to die down, paramedics Jimmy Wagstaff and Bob Shoemaker finally got permission to go look for the Ayub family and Aunt Lily.
We didn't have any address, all we knew was the road. We figured it wouldn't be hard to find a tower laying across the house.
We met another crew who was going down to the scene to see if they could find the house.
Both staff cars ended up at the house at about the same time. We noticed the tower laying across several houses. Since me and Bob Shoemaker were the only ones with protective gear, we searched the houses. The other 2 paramedics that were there stayed outside in case we got trapped, they could send for help.
The storm started lightening up. As it eased up more, we kept noticing car lights going by the large picture window in Mark's house. And I said, well, let's see what's out there, because we'll have to get Lily into the hospital. She can't keep going like this.
All of a sudden, the man came running out of the house with a flashlight. In the back of our mind, we were thinking, this is probably the old lady we're searching for.
We didn't do our normal procedures because we didn't have any equipment to work with. We scooped her up and put her in the back of the car and made our way towards Navy Hospital.
I was never so happy to see anyone in my whole life as I was to see those 2 guys from EMS. And I started to cry because that was the first sight of help we had.
The 2 paramedics drove Aunt Lily to the nearest hospital. Even before dawn, help began arriving from the devastated city of Charleston.
At daylight, we all went outside. And it was like another world. It was not our home after living here all our life. That was not home. This wasn't our street. And it looked like a war zone. We went back to look at our house, and we saw this tower just on the house through the children's bedroom, through my Aunt Lillian's room. And me, the shock was knowing that that was my kid's room and knowing that, thank God they weren't there because it was right in their beds.
It was a tremendous shock. I'd have to say that I got really depressed, but I'm grateful that I have such a wonderful family that I depend on and that they depend on me because it gives me purpose.
3 buildings were damaged by the tower. Neighbor Billy Hudson's house across the street was also crushed. But the Ayub family has refused to give up. Demolition has already begun to make way for a new house.
We're going to rebuild that house back, and we're going to go back to that house, and we're going to pick up where we were before the hurricane.
It picks up every day. Things get a little better. And in fact, right after the hurricane, I was telling people, yeah, it's getting a nickel better a day. And I'd say right now we're up to maybe $1 better a day.
2.5 weeks later, Aunt Lillian was released from the hospital and returned home.
My Aunt Lillian just about raised me. I'm happy to take care of her because I love her. I'm all that she has, and I don't mind the responsibility at all. We lost everything. We lost our home, our clothes, everything we own, we've lost. But we didn't lose each other. We're all grateful to just be alive, no matter what else has happened. And I think we've gotten even closer since Hurricane Hugo.
Next.
So many people take families up to steep mountainous areas to go tubing and don't realize how really dangerous it is.
Johnny Cash has got special guest Chris.
HDIS, the better way.
Per year. And this is just one small area where we live here with a population of only 25,000.
HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-291-1431. That's 1-800-291-1431.
Sunday nights are now Walker nights on Get TV.
On February 13th, 1988, in Laramie, Wyoming, some teenagers with a local church group headed out to go snow tubing. On that day, they discovered that life sometimes deals us challenges that can test our strength and our ability to overcome adversity.
It's a little frightening to think that so many people take families up to steep mountainous areas to go tubing and don't realize how really dangerous it is. We average a death and a paralysis per year. And this is just one small area where we live here with a population of only 25,000.
Dana Williams had organized the church youth group outing that day, which included her 17-year-old daughter, Shauna.
Shauna and Tana and Joe headed up there up the hill and got up there, and a couple of the other boys started down the inner tube. And Shauna and Tana and Joe decided they'd move their inner tube over a little ways so it looked like a more direct path down the hill.
Ready? Okay, let's go.
Shauna's best friend, Leah Meredith, was watching from nearby.
There was no stopping that inner tube at all because it was going so fast. Tana hit a tree with her face, so everyone ran down to see if she was all right, and there was just blood everywhere. She had some cuts on her face, but she wasn't hurt all that bad.
And I ran up there and I said, Shauna, are you all right? And Shauna's head popped back and her eyes got about as big as saucers. And I thought she was dead.
A bystander ran for help. EMT Jim Choate happened to be cross-country skiing in the area.
Need some help. There's been a girl hurt on the hill. You ever heard of her? Where's she at?
I didn't have any medical equipment at all, but by having the medical experience that I did, I thought I might be able to help.
And I said, are you okay? Are you okay? And she said, Mom. She said, Mom, am I dreaming? Wake me up. I can't feel my legs.
Here's my red blend bottle of wine that I'm gonna have. But I'm also, you know, getting wine from a bottle.
that
And
somebody was
after
there that
this
could take charge
stream is
and do
over,
what needed to be
I'm
done.
gonna watch the movie The Kids Are
When I
Alright.
was doing my initial assessment, she said she had no feeling in her legs. Also, she complained of some severe chest pain. It appeared that her level of consciousness was going down and we needed to get her off the mountain.
A call for help sent a medic unit from the Laramie Fire Department to the scene.
See, I also got this wine, Concha Tour Frontier Cab Merlot
Time
Mix.
was critical if she had a ruptured aorta or anything like that. And so we fashioned things that we could just to get her immobilized the best that we could and get her down the mountain. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, lift.
They picked her up off the hill. She said, Mom, don't cry. Mom, please don't cry. And I said, Shauna, I won't cry if you don't cry. And we kind of made that pact, and so the two of us tried to just be as strong as we could.
Shauna was rushed to Ivinson Memorial Hospital, where she was admitted under the care of ER physician Carrie Simon.
She was brought in on a toboggan, still immobilized. She was not moved or her position changed. And a portable x-ray machine was brought in, and we immediately took x-rays of her lateral spine from the neck clear down to the low back.
And ask Dr. Haracopoulos to bring him back. I'm going to go over the x-rays with him.
Shauna's father, Richard, was notified of the accident and headed to the hospital, where his wife explained what had happened.
Of course, I think like anybody in that situation, has hope for the best. My initial reaction was maybe that she had a pinched nerve or something along those lines.
Feel sharp to you at all? Okay, how about here? No? Does it start feeling up in here? Right about here.
From an examination of Shauna and her x-rays, orthopedic surgeon Dr. David Kiefer determined that her spinal cord had been severed. She was paralyzed from the chest down.
Dr. Kiefer came into the room and asked us to come into the hallway, and he said, I would consider Shauna a paraplegic from this point forward, and this is what I do. And I just looked at him, and I thought, you can't be telling me this. You can't be telling me this about her. She likes to ski, and she likes to dance, and she likes to ride bikes. You can't tell this to me.
Going through my mind was, well, this is where we're at. Now what do we have to do next? Where do we go from this point?
Shauna was transferred to Craig Hospital in Denver to begin daily physical therapy to build up her strength and learn how to cope with her new limitations.
The rehabilitation was probably the hardest thing that I ever had to go through in my whole life. Learning how to be 17 and knowing that this is probably how it's going to be the rest of your life. But I've learned that you have to be able to have strength in yourself and knowing that you can do whatever you want to do regardless of what the odds are against you.
She was so strong. She was so strong. Richard and I were just sitting in there one day, and poor Rich put his head down on his arm there in the hospital and just started crying, and she reached over with her hand on his head and she said, "Don't cry, Dad, it's not so bad."
In the 4 years since the accident, Shauna Williams has rebuilt her life. She now works at a bank and lives on her own.
It's really nice knowing that I can live by myself. So when I very first came home from the hospital, I didn't think that was ever going to be possible.
You can use that one.
I admire Shauna's strength a lot because I feel that if I was in that situation, I don't think I would be as independent. I don't think I would be as strong as she is, and I really admire her, and I always have.
I had always ridden horses.
HDIS, the better way.
For your free
Anything you want to do, you might have to do it in a little bit different way, but if you really want to do it, there's nothing that can stop me from doing things that I want to do. I don't feel there's anything I can't accomplish, ever.
Meow. I want to wish all my YouTube subscribers a happy Easter. And let's see, I go to Firefox. I'm looking for Hello Kitty Happy Easter images. Oh, it exited me out of Firefox. I don't know why it did that. I'll go to google.com. Okay. And type in hello kitty Easter. Click on submit. Go to images. Go to Happy Easter. Hello Kitty Happy Easter. See, there's a cute Happy Easter image. Hello Kitty with Easter baskets. Here's an image that says Happy Easter. There's another image that says Happy Easter. There's another image that says Happy Easter. Okay, I'm going to exit out of Firefox now. Now see, I'll go to YouTube to see if we still are live, doing this live stream. Okay, now this is another cord cutting option that I'm also going to do in this stream. It's called USA Prime TV. Now, I never actually paid for this service. It's just a free trial and it expires tomorrow. And there's a huge video on demand section with a lot of TV series added and over 1,000 TV series. And to get it, you go to their file link store. And their file link code is 3129251. 3129251. If you need to pause this video to write the code down with file linked, 3129251. And see, you go to the store and you click that green arrow to download it, but I already downloaded USA Prime TV, and here it is right up front on my Fire Stick. So I'm already logged in. See, expiration April 13th, 2020. The catch-up is not that big. It's only like 82. But there's like ABC, CBS, Food Network, which are common ones I watch. They have like some sports catch up, like Big Ten Network, ESPN, ACC Network. It's like 6:23 Central Time Zone. Now let's go to live TV. See, I got my favorites on here. I got CBS Drama.
I don't know, they look awfully
That's a
friendly.
UK channel.
Boyfriend, ex-boyfriend,
CBS Justice, another UK channel. See, I got Cooking Channel, 24/7 American Pie, Fox College Sports, the Justice Network, not Justice Central, but the actual Justice. Sometimes it comes in, sometimes it doesn't.
Live out their dream, a dream that their friends didn't even know they had, and buy property in Scandinavia, moving there permanently. This is a big shock to their friends.
See, there's the J logo. I like to watch the new detectives on the Justice Network. Okay. Now, there's like 3,418 total with live TV. So if you're a fan of 24/7, there's like 111, 24/7 Kids, 20 of that. Maybe the 24/7 isn't as big because the movies and the TV series are so big. So see, with my series, I actually saved like 45. And they have a lot of good TV series in here, such as The Connors, Full House, Salute Your Short, 1990s show on Nickelodeon, Reba, Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club, and this is $15 per month. Full House, Bachelor in Paradise, American Idol, Alf, Young Sheldon, 8 Simple Rules, Leaving Neverland. These are my favorites. I bookmarked them. Born This Way, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, Jill and Jessa, Counting On, Undercover Boss, Dancing with the Stars Juniors, Girl Meets World, Growing Pains, High School Musical, this series, Holiday Baking Championship, Hollywood, Holiday Wars, Home Improvement, Step by Step, Family Matters, Outdaughter, Cheers, Kids Say the Darndest Things, Kids Baking Champs, Championship, Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath, Mama June from Not to Hot, MasterChef Junior, Roseanne, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Saved by the Bell, Smart Guy. I wish they had Saved by the Bell in new class, Step by Step, The Bachelor, Adventures of Pete and Pete, The Bachelorette, The Cosby Show, Paw Patrol, Garfield and Friends, Sesame Street, and Curious George. And let's go to my saved favorites in movies. That I actually have like 180 movies saved. Like, Dolphin Kick, Bernie the Dolphin, We Bought a Zoo, The Art of Racing in the Rain, The Babysitter's Club. I won't name them all, but you'll see them load up on here. Disney Nature Films, the Dumbo 2019 movie. Rocket Man, Elton John biography. Like Annette Bening movies like Life Itself, Bugsy, another Annette Bening movie, American Beauty, another Annette Bening movie, The Kids Are All Right, 20th Century Women, 2 more Annette Bening movies, The Seagull, Annette Bening movies. Annette Bening's one of my favorite actresses, so I mean, I'm glad they included all her movies. Extremely Wicked, Ted Bundy movie. They have both Father of the Brides here, Identity Thief, Jack, Life of the Party, Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers, She-Devil, both the Problem Child movies, Splash. Tom Hanks is another one of my favorite actors. The Great Outdoors, another Annette Bening movie. That was Annette Bening's first movie, The Great Outdoors. I think that's it for my saved movies. The Greatest Showman, Zac Efron was in that. And Zac Efron is in that Ted Bundy movie. So I'm going to start the movie The Kids Are All Right. I'm not going to play it yet, but I'm going to show you my big glass of wine that I'm going to have while I'm watching the movie. Because they have a lot of red wine scenes in the movie The Kids Are All Right. See, here's my big glass of red wine right here. I have it on top of the TV stand. See, you can see it better. Okay, I'm going to end this live stream now. And I'm going to click on Finish Event. Hit the big red button and subscribe. Peace out, YouTube.